If you guys enjoy what I do, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel and it's free and easy to do. Welcome to my channel where we cover the lore of Final Fantasy XIV. We cover the stories both big and small, the epic and the cute, the silly and the tragic. I hope you all enjoy the ride, and welcome to the Chronicler of Lore. In Old Da, Wyman, everyone's favorite source of information, has been hearing a whole lot about your exploits. And he figures with you spending so much time adventuring and such, some weird rumors might interest you. But first, he needs to know if you've ever heard of a man named Hildibrand. He's not surprised that you haven't, although Hildebrand claimed he was the greatest inspector in Eorzea. He may have overstated his skill, but him and his assistant did have a habit of showing up whenever something strange was going on. And sometimes the pair did solve the mysteries and catch a bad guy or two. Sometimes. Well, 5 years ago, Hildebrand claimed that he had figured out how to stop Dalamud and the Calamity. He just had to find the hero of prophecy, who turned out to be himself, of course. After that, he flew, apparently Dragon Ball Z style, up at Dalamud. He obviously didn't stop anything, and it took quite a while to find his body. With him being dead, Nashu, his assistant, took up the mantle of inspector, and she's investigating the rumors Wyman was about to tell you about. She's a nice lady according to him, but she's also a bit dumb, and so he wants to help her out. But she's investigating zombies, and Wyman doesn't do zombies, so he'd like for you to help her out. She spends a lot of time at Hildebrand's grave out in the Lich Yard, so you could probably find her there. You do find Nashu exactly where Wyman said, and she's happy that somebody came to help her out. She's trying to be a great inspector like Hildebrand, but the job is a lot harder than she thought it'd be. Nothing's been the same since he died. The echo shows you Nashu struggling to accept his death as she stands over his grave. She knows she'll never be able to replace him, but she changes clothes and decides to carry on his legacy. Apparently, she kept rambling on while you were under the effects of your vision, because when you snap back to reality, she's saying something about killing the zombie leader to stop the zombies from doing something or other. Unfortunately, she doesn't know where the zombie's leader is, but now that she has an assistant, meaning you, she can send you to try what she says is one of her best ideas yet. She wants you to go out to the south of Thanalan where the weird dapper zombies are and try to be their friend so they can take you to their leader. So this woman thinks it's a good idea to walk up to creatures who literally eat people's brains and try to talk to them so they will take you to their leader who also eats brains. On a list of bad ideas, this is probably at the top, right under letting a teenager channel the power of a primal and fight the warrior of light who kills primals daily. And yes, that really does happen. Instead of carrying out Nashu's extremely stupid plan, the warrior of light goes to southern Thanalan and proceeds to unalive the very odd-acting zombies, who spend more time posing than trying to kill you. One of the zombies drops a map of the Sagoli Desert with the words "a gentleman is" rather than "does" written on the back. It's a very odd piece of parchment, so the warrior of light brings it back to Nashu, who hasn't moved away from Hildebrand's grave in the entire time you were gone. She's sad to hear that you couldn't make friends with the zombies, but the spot that's marked on the map could be a good place to search for their leader. And the nonsensical phrase seems familiar to her, but she can't quite remember where she heard it, so the two of you head off to investigate the spot on the map. The two of you arrive and are immediately surrounded by quite a few hungry zombies who are very eager to dig into their new meal, but a man who's standing on top of a slightly buried building and posing like an idiot stops them, saying it's not gentlemanlike to eat your guests. The zombies listen to the man and leave, and Nashu recognizes the man as none other than Inspector Hildebrand. Seems like the man doesn't remember who he is. He thinks his name is Zombiebrand, the devourer of brains. But Nashu has a perfect way to get the inspector's memories back, with two very large bombs. Memories or not, Hildebrand is pretty sure that the bombs will kill him. Nashu is okay with that. Either it will fix him or blow him apart. I don't know what Hildebrand's body is made of, but while the explosion does bury him like a cartoon character, it doesn't hurt him. And it brings his memories back, all except for the ones that tell him how he ended up in the middle of the desert leading an army of flexing zombies. Fortunately, the echo kicks in to show you. After Nashu left the inspector's grave, he climbs out of it Night of the Living Dead style. Apparently he wasn't dead at all, just unconscious, but he had no idea who he was. A group of zombies walk up to him, and once he notices the tombstone with his name on it, he figures that he's one of them. So he strikes his normal pose to show off his gains, which impresses the zombies, and they head off together, leading you back to the present. The newly restored inspector takes one look at you and gets a tingly feeling that he believes must mean there's a case to be solved. He can sense that someone is doing something terrible nearby, and with a brief look around, he realizes that he's not that far from Ul'dah, so his villain sense might actually be legit, because if there's ever been a city full of crime, it's Ul'dah. So he rushes off, forcing you and Nashu to try and track him down. A few people in Ul'dah have seen Hildibrand. It's very hard to miss a very tall, muscular guy who's covered in dirt and wearing a crop-top tuxedo, but they're more concerned about a guy calling himself a duelist who's been going around forcing people to fight him, then stealing their weapons. You don't find Hildibrand. Instead, the man finds you while you're talking to Wyman. Nashu's with him, no longer dressed like a detective, now that she's free to go back to assisting Hildibrand. Wyman thinks Hildebrand's a zombie at first, but when Nashu says that he's not, the man wants to know how Hildebrand survived that fall. I ask the same question about the Warrior of Light all the time, and I still don't have an answer. Neither does Hildebrand, but he does plan on getting answers about who the sword thief is. Apparently he's heard that rumor too, but solving that mystery might not be all that easy, because not even Wyman has any idea about where the guy might be. He did hear something about a woman who had something stolen, so Hildebrand and Nashu race off to find her before you do. But they forget to wait for Wyman to tell them the woman's name, or where she is. So he tells you instead. The woman's name is Yellow Moon, and she's always buying new and flashier clothes, so she's probably at the Weaver's Guild at that very moment. You find the horribly named woman right where Wyman said she would be, complaining about how one of her favorite accessories, the Pure Heart, was stolen recently. Hildebrand may be a complete idiot, but somehow, even without knowing who he was looking for, he found the woman Wyman was talking about. Granted, he stood around flexing instead of talking to her until after she started explaining the situation to you. The Pure Heart isn't the only thing that's been stolen from her, it's only the most recent. She was carrying it around with her, but after she went shopping and watched a match at the Coliseum, she realized that it was gone. Without knowing the exact time and location of the theft, Hildebrand figures that the only way to get her to remember any other details that could help solve the case is for her to reenact all the things she did that day. It's a good idea, so Hildebrand and his small group, you included, head to Sunsilk Tapestries. Yellow Moon starts to walk you through that fateful day of shopping, which isn't all that out of the ordinary for her, but what was odd was a man came out of nowhere and confessed his undying love for her. He caught her off guard, which made her drop her purse on his foot, which caused him to run away screaming in pain. The thing must have had bricks in it. It's a little weird, but it doesn't seem to have anything to do with the theft, so you all head to the Coliseum, which was Yellow Moon's next stop. She had gone there to do some gambling, but just like before, someone, a gladiator this time, came up to her confessing his undying love for the woman. She panicked and hit him in the face with her purse, which knocked the man unconscious. Apparently it wasn't bricks that she had in the thing, but a whole lot of money, enough to make the purse weigh over 100 pounds. While Hildebrand starts to come up with his own theories about why Yellow Moon was robbed, Nashu starts to wonder just why there are so many large crates sitting outside of the places you've been to. She wants to know what's inside of them, and because it's perfectly legal to destroy people's property when you're curious, and the Warrior of Light will follow along with any bad idea, she gives you some explosives to use to get inside of the boxes. Turns out she was right to be suspicious. The crates had people in them, and the people had Yellow Moon's stuff. Apparently they weren't thieves at all. They're just overly devoted stalkers who follow Yellow Moon everywhere, and when she drops something, they pick it up for her just for safekeeping. She's not all that happy about that, so the giant woman chases them off. The case is officially closed. However, while Hildebrand assumes that he solved the case of the weapon thief, Ellie, a reporter who's been following you while you ran around Ul'dah, tells you that the duelist is one man who steals people's weapons after he beats them in one-on-one fights. And if he weren't a total idiot, Hildebrand would have known that the Yellow Moon fan club was not capable of that. Ellie's been following this story for weeks, and she'll happily introduce Hildebrand to one of the duelist's actual victims. He's glad for the information, but he runs off before she can tell him anything, so she tells you instead. The guy's name is Humphrey, and he's out at the Golden Bazaar. You find the man only a few seconds before Hildebrand and Nashu show up. I can't lie, dumb or not, Hildibrand clearly does have a talent for finding people. Humphrey was challenged by the Duelist, but the guy not only claims he won the fight, he also says he's a warrior of light who fought at the Battle of Cardinal. Granted, Ellie shows up with another man named Eorzea to prove that the man's not only a liar, but a thief too. The Duelist beat the crap out of him, and Humphrey gave away Eorzea's father's sword that he was paid to take to a blacksmith to get repaired. Apparently the stress of losing his dad's sword like that made the man go bald. I'm pretty sure that's just old age, but old or not, Eorzea promises to kill Humphrey if he doesn't get that sword back. Now that the truth is out, Humphrey admits that the Duelist thoroughly wrecked him, and he used the money that was meant for fixing the old man's sword to go to the doctor. He has no idea where the Duelist or the sword is, which is bad because the old man's not kidding about killing him. He's so desperate that he begs Hildebrand to help him. Ellie doesn't think that the man deserves help, but Hildebrand doesn't see how punishing Humphrey will help Eorzea, so he agrees to track down the sword. That means he needs a lead, so you all spread out and start questioning people around the Golden Bazaar. Most of the people don't know much, but Humphrey's claim to be a warrior of light does have some people thinking that the so-called heroes might not be so noble after all. A traveling merchant by the name of Jojampa isn't sure if he can tell you where a legitimate ancient sword is, but he thinks he did throw away a replica of an ancient sword that he found in a spring to the east of Camp Drybone, along with other useless junk. So in other words, the guy's a litterbug. Hildebrand isn't all that fond of the idea of giving the old man a fake sword, but he decides to do it just to hold the man over until the real weapon can be found, so you all head to this river to search. After Hildebrand gets you to coat his body in salamander oil to keep his injuries from getting infected because that qualifies as normal behavior, you all search the river, and amidst all the trash, Nashu trips over the sword in question. She hands it over to Hildebrand and decides that her time will be better spent going to get the inspector a fresh suit before he catches a cold, and a bit of hair tonic to help Eorzea grow his hair back. Turns out the sword is actually the old man's family heirloom, meaning the thing was never all that valuable to anyone other than him anyway. Ellie's actually impressed that Hildebrand went through all of that trouble for strangers. He's a true hero, although he isn't dressed like one. Nashu shows up with the clothes to remedy that problem, and some hair tonic for the old man, but before he can change, a card flies through the door and sticks into Hildebrand's forehead. It's a message from the Duelist, a challenge daring Hildebrand to try and stop him. Basking in the light of Eorzea's shining head, Hildebrand, the agent of inquiry, Inspector Extraordinaire, accepts the Duelist's challenge. Needless to say, this is going to be a very interesting ride. This concludes episode 1 of Hildebrand, Agent of Inquiry. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, ding that notification bell, join the Discord, and if you really want to show your support, you can donate to the channel through the link in the description. Until next time, guys. Later.